Hey everybody, welcome back to Sleep Coach Autumn. I am Autumn Martin and I am a practicing sleep and pulmonology PA, currently working in outpatient pulmonology and sleep medicine. Today I am going to be doing my review of the Sunrise Alarm Clock. For the last 10 days, I have been using the Sunrise Alarm Clock every single day to wake up and start my day. This video is going to be my summary and my review of that experience and if I think it's something worthwhile trying. I did a deep dive recently, if you follow my channel, of the 6 benefits of using early morning sunlight or sunlight simulation, as well as the unboxing and setup of the Sunrise Alarm Clock I purchased. So you should definitely go check those videos out. So the Sunrise Alarm Clock that I used is the Jall Sunrise Alarm Clock. It was less than $40 on Amazon, shipped in the same day, got it pretty quickly. Very easy to set up. Again, check out my setup video. It took less than 5-10 minutes to get it unboxed, plugged in, and all set up. So it was super easy to use. And I used the Sunrise Alarm Clock with my husband for 10 straight days. So every single day we use the alarm clock to wake up. So we did set a backup alarm just in case, but we did use it consistently every day for 10 days. Before we jump into the review of the 10 days that me and my husband spent actually using the alarm clock, I do want to briefly talk about the benefits of using the Sunrise Alarm Clock. And again, I break this down in other videos, but it's important that if you're going to be using something like this, you know what the benefits are. So, kind of in summary, the biggest benefits that I tell my patients are it's less jarring. So when you first wake up in the morning, it's not shocking you out of a deep sleep into wide awake. It's more of a gradual, natural way to wake up with a simulated light and then more natural sound. So I use the birds chirping sound versus, again, like a blaring cell phone. Another benefit is that we have seen in studies that morning light or morning light simulation can actually downregulate the production of melatonin, which is that sleepy hormone that you get to actually go to sleep, and it will start upregulating the production of serotonin, which is more of the happy hormone. And so there are a lot of studies showing that morning light therapy and dawn simulation can actually make patients feel happier and reduce symptoms of depression, anxiety, and seasonal affective disorder in certain studies. Some of the other benefits include it helps with sleep hygiene, as people who tend to set alarms tend to have more consistent sleep schedules, and having consistent sleep schedules has been shown in multiple studies to actually increase sleep quality. So when you are going to sleep and waking up at the same time, that period of sleep tends to be much more restorative than people who don't have a sleep schedule. And then finally, it's really good for your circadian rhythm or your body's internal clock to have a set sleep schedule, have a set wake schedule. And again, that morning light therapy or dawn simulation mimics more of the natural sunrise that we have been waking up to all of evolution. And so it just is more of a natural, easier way to wake up for a lot of people. So those are some of the benefits of actually trying the sunlight alarm clock or doing another version, which would be morning light therapy with like a light box, which is something completely different. It's not the exact same thing, so there is a difference there, but there are benefits to both. Now that you know what some of the benefits are, it's important to know why sunlight alarm clocks are recommended and what type of conditions that I typically see that I recommend them for. So, working in sleep medicine and previously working internal medicine with a lot of PTSD, anxiety, depression, I would recommend early morning light therapy or a sunlight alarm clock for someone who is struggling with things like insomnia, shift work sleep disorders, so people who are working at night and then trying to sleep all day, things like seasonal affective disorder or your winter blues that you see from October to February, delayed sleep phase disorder, or other circadian rhythm disorders. So the sunlight alarm clocks and early morning light therapy isn't just good for sleep disorders, it's also good for a lot of other conditions as well. And I will be doing a video later on that kind of dives a little bit deeper into all those conditions and why it might be beneficial. But just know that the early morning light therapy has been shown in a lot of studies to be helpful for not only sleep disorders, but also mood disorders as well, and specifically seasonal affective disorder, since most of us live in hemispheres where it gets dark very early and it doesn't get light again till later in the day. So we tend to be going to work in the dark and then coming home in the dark, which isn't good for our mental or physical health. So now that I've kind of touched on the benefits of using a sunrise alarm clock, as well as the common conditions that a sunrise alarm clock is used to treat, I do want to talk about my own experience using one. Now, when you're using a sunrise alarm clock, you don't have to have a disorder. You don't have to have a pre-existing condition because those benefits can be beneficial for anybody who wants to improve their sleep hygiene, wake up a little bit more naturally, have that less jarring effect. So don't think that if you don't have one of these conditions, you can't use the sunrise alarm clock, because that's not true. So I purchased the Jall Sunrise Alarm clock off Amazon for less than $40. It was a super easy setup. It took less than 5 minutes. And then me and my husband used it consistently for 10 days. We technically used it for 11 days, but because on day one I messed up and set the alarm for 5:45 p.m. instead of 5:45 a.m. and had set a backup alarm that was just my phone jarring in my ear, we're not counting day one, but it was still 10 full days. So my experience with the sunrise alarm clock is the settings that I had it on where I typically get up at 5:45 a.m. I set the sunrise exposure to come all the way to full brightness, and I did try and mimic more natural sunrise, so I had it gradually increase in brightness over the course of 30 minutes. The sound that I used for my sunrise alarm clock was birds chirping, because in the summer that is my favorite thing to wake up, is that, light peeking up over the horizon and the birds chirping. It just makes me think of spring and summer, so I chose those settings. Obviously, whatever you want to do is up to you, but that's what I chose. So for those 10 days, we used the sunrise alarm clock every single day. The nice thing about the one that we got was you could set a weekend alarm as well as a weekday alarm. So on the weekdays, we woke up at 5:45. On the weekends, we tended to wake up at 6:30, which technically, even on weekends, you should wake up around the same time, but we tend to wake up slightly later on the weekends because I like to sleep in. Now, this was my first day using the sunrise alarm clock after, obviously, the false first day where I forgot to set it up and had to use my backup alarm. But this was the first day.
Day one of waking up with the alarm clock, I would say it was a much easier transition versus my old alarm buzzing in my ear.
After day one and getting really camera shy about waking up and doing a video looking like I just am crawling out of bed, because I am, I stopped doing videos. And so I'll just summarize kind of the rest of my experience for day 2 through 10. I will say I was honestly slightly skeptical, just because I do get winter blues, but it's never been very severe. And I don't like waking up to an alarm clock, especially because I do wake up before the sunrise and I go to work before it's bright out, and then I typically come home after it's dark. I was slightly skeptical that it was going to make a huge difference just because I don't have any underlying conditions, but I was very wrong. Pleasantly very wrong. So I will say from day 2 or 3, I definitely started to notice a big difference in how I felt. It was really nice to not wake up and kind of be shocked out of sleep with an alarm clock. We usually have just the typical phone alarm that's set on high that just starts blaring at 5:45 a.m. And so with that 30-minute brightness window, I felt like when I was kind of starting to wake up probably a little bit earlier than the 5:45 alarm, but I felt refreshed. So I didn't feel like I had been jolted out of a dream or jolted out of a deep sleep. It was more of a gradual alertness, which again, I did not think would make a huge difference, but I felt so much better. I didn't need to hit the snooze button 3 or 4 times. I was ready to get out of bed at 5:45 a.m. when that alarm had gotten to its full brightness and the birds started chirping. So I will say that was something I was very pleasantly surprised by, was that it was definitely more of a gradual wake up. Other thing I really enjoyed about the sunrise alarm clock was the sound options. So again, I chose birds chirping in the morning, which, let me tell you, was a super refreshing way to wake up. They have tons of other very refreshing, calming sounds. And again, I underestimated how nice it would be to wake up to a slowly brightening alarm and bird sounds. So that felt great. Now, I will say, for as far as productivity levels felt, I was more focused early in the morning. I definitely noticed going into work, I drank less coffee. So usually I have a full 16-ounce mug of coffee that I feel like I need to drink before noon. I definitely noticed I was not drinking most of my coffee in the early morning like I usually do. So I did feel more alert in the first 4 hours of my day, which was, very pleasant. I also did have more energy throughout the day. So typically during the week, I do have a fitness watch that kind of tracks my activity levels and calories. And on average, I have about 600 minutes of activity during the week. For the last week and a half, 2 weeks that I've been using the alarm clock, that activity level has actually gone up. So I find that I am doing more walks at lunch. I find that I am running more after work. And I feel like I have more energy when I get off later at night to actually go to the gym, which is something that I also found pleasantly surprising and did not expect, was that my energy levels actually were slightly higher than they typically are, just because I felt like I was waking up more gradually, sleeping better, and had more energy throughout the day. I will say with the sunrise alarm clock, I was super impressed with how well I feel waking up. I obviously knew the studies and I recommend it to my patients based off those studies, but I didn't expect to really love it as much as I did. I had bought in the Jall alarm clock with the intention of doing these videos, trying it out, being able to actually tell my patients that I've used it in my own experience. That way, when I did recommend it, I could have a firsthand account. But I will say we won't be returning the clock because my husband also loves it. So I would definitely say if you are looking to improve the way you wake up in the morning, you want to have a more natural wake up, you want to feel more refreshed first thing in the morning, you want to have more concentration, you want to have less stress going into the day, I definitely recommend at least trialing the sunrise alarm clock, especially during the winter months when you wake up before the sunrise and if you're going into work before sunrise. For me, I have noticed a really drastic improvement in waking up in the morning, having more energy, and even feeling like some of the winter blues that I've been experiencing recently with going to work in the dark and then coming home in the dark. I'm actually feeling a lot better and more refreshed at work. Now, going into the summer, I don't know how much I would use this because the sun starts coming up really early towards the summer, but I will definitely pull this out and be using this the rest of the winter and spring and probably again next year because I've been very excited about the results. Now, if you do decide to get a sunrise alarm clock and you have a sunrise alarm clock and you absolutely love it, please leave a comment. Let me know what your experience has been using these types of sunrise simulators. I'm really excited to hear if other people love it or if other people really haven't noticed a difference. As always, if you're new to this channel or this is your first time watching my videos, please subscribe. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day.